Well, my fellow shed nerds, as you know, I am. Oh, why is that flickering? What is on? Oh, it's the light above. I don't know if we can not make it flicker. No. You'll have to put up with it, I think, probably. It's because it's got a light up above. Doesn't usually do that. Hold on. Does that improve the situation? I've put the big light on it. Anyway. Well, my fellow weirdos, my fellow shed men, eccentrics, you know, my number one, all this have all started basically because my number one thing is nuts and bolts. Buckets and buckets of nuts and bolts. So, I'll probably put you on fast forward. Oh, they're stuck there. Let's do something about that. We'll start there, and we'll. I love sorting nuts and bolts and putting them in jars, so I know exactly where they are. So we've got a bit to do today. So what I'm going to do, I love being on the floor sorting out nuts and bolts. Come and join me in my little heaven whilst we get this all sorted. So I'm going to put you on time lapse now then. Oh, what did that harvest for the tub? We've got these, slightly shorter than those. Got a load of nuts. Shall we put the nuts and bolts together so that if you find the bolt, you've already found the nut, you don't have to go looking for the nuts? Or have we got enough there just to make one jar of nuts? We've got some lovely spring washers for the same size, haven't we? And we could we've got plenty of washers here, so we could make up sets, couldn't we? Put there, another washer, and store them like that, including the spring washer and including, but we don't usually use the spring washer that often, and you always use these for another reason, don't you? But all you have to do is find the bolt, find the washer, take the washer off the bolt, put the bolt back in the jar, and you've got yourself a washer, haven't you? You have to make that decision. Special nice big washers here. I don't know what these were or are. Some sort of a plastic washer, spacer. Ooh, that's the problem. It's inefficient use of little jars. You'd like to put them in just the size of jar, but it takes the shelf up, doesn't it? So that's one jar. That's probably one or two jars, and there's another jar here. We've got a few of these plastic rings that may or may not come in handy sometime in the future. But what's in a bucket is now going to be stored away with WD-40, and we'll get to that step in a minute. I'm not really sure what to do. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're just going to put these slightly to the edge, make another outer perimeter of them, reorganize these a bit, then tip the big tub out, and let's see what's in the big tub. So these are the jars that we collect. These are jars that we're using. That is in there. Now ordinarily I would put WD-40 in here, and then I would half fill it and put more WD-40 in and fill it. Actually, that's going to be a jar full, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to be quite an efficient jar full. I always like to fill them full, but we don't know what's coming out the other one yet, so that's okay. this one. Let's have a look how they fall in the pots. Don't throw them in the bottom because you'll break it. Put the first few, slide them in. Now sometimes you have to place them in. If they'll cross over, that doesn't give you too much gathering. All of them are going to fit in there anyway. So that's going to be, always shake them. In fact, what we're going to do, hold on, let's start from the beginning. Hold on. Actually, we're going to redo that. So we've decided they're going in there. So get your WD-40, give it a drink. Put some, whatever you've got, all of the same. Put them in. Put them in the jar like this. Just tip them all in. We're about halfway, aren't we? Well, it needs a bit topping up, but when you're about halfway, just give them a little bit more drink and put them in. I don't think it's going to take long for us to top that jar up so that we know we've got that jar. Let's put that there, because you can always move them. If you've got two of those, they might fit in one big one. So everything's, until you actually put them on the shelf, everything is subject to change, isn't it? So again, give this a nice drink. Now, because these fall over within the jar, they're going to pack together nicely. These are. There's a nut there ready to go into that one. These are going to pack quite nicely. And again, shake them, get about halfway down, give them a drink. This one's going to fill this jar, actually. You could put them in a bit tighter if you were struggling for space, or you wanted to be a bit more efficient, but for what we're doing today, that'll be just fine. That'll be, again, finish it off, give it a drink. That's there forevermore. That's there on a shelf forevermore. Try to remember, if you do go to take one out, just give them a quick drink, put one back in. If you haven't seen them for years and years, you think, ooh, I haven't opened that lid for years. Open it, take whatever you want out, shut the lid, give it a spray, shut the lid, and they stay like brand new, as you've seen on my shelves. So we're going to put that there. This lot here, this is a bigger jar still. It all depends how they land in and on the jar. Whatever takes up, whatever you think. Now don't drop them in, you'll break the jar. Slide them in. Slide them in. I think we're going to get a lot more of those. And if it's just the sake of a few more, then you throw some different ones in, but for now, that'll do. Let's see what, so we can now see what we've got and how is it going to fit. Yeah, so I think, because we deal in bigger jars now, I think it's ready to tip the other top pot out. See what we got. This is another tub, so I think it's going to produce different stuff. Let's have a look. You see, sometimes it's nice just keeping them together, isn't it? But of course that makes more space in the jar. Let's see how they come out. Ooh! Here we go. Wow. We'll soon get through it. There's a bit of oil in the bottom of there, which is good. Let's sort through this lot. And if they're coming out that way, we might find a way of, rather than dismantling them, we might find a way of just keeping them together, don't we? That's almost a jar full on itself, isn't it? So let's just, there's a few of these here, different sort, galvanized, different sizes. And there's some sort of lag bolts in here as well. So let's sort that one out. So, what did that lot produce? An amount of these, an amount of them with washers. Is it worth stripping these down to the washers and the nuts, store them separately? Takes a bit of space that way. Got loads of those spring ones. These have grown into a small pot. There's a whole load of these. So shall we strip them and turn them into just bolts, store them as just bolts and just washers and just nuts? Or do we keep them together? Except it's quite a big space there, isn't it? And we've got one there. That's going to take quite a bit of shelving space. I've got an idea for those. And we'll do that next. We've got a few of these here so we can top up. We've got a few nuts we can top up. And we can top up with our existing stock, you know. Hold on, I've got cramp. Whoop. Hold on. I've got cramp. Whoa, right. So, shall we split all them? No. I'll tell you what we're going to do with those, I think. I'll tell you what we're going to do with them. I'm not a great fan of keeping them out in the open, but it's always worth keeping. Always keep your plastic tubs. When you get quite a bit like this, let's see what they look like in there, shall we? So I think that'll be all right there, you know. Okay. I don't really like keeping them out in the open. They don't last that long as if they're in a jar. But give them a good drink. Keep an eye on them if you think they're going off. Depends on how quickly you use them. Who knows? It might take them 10 years to use. It might take us 3 months. Who knows what's around the corner? So give them a good drink. And when you put them on the shelf, just sort of put a little rag over the top of them. But I prefer glass jars always. But sometimes when you got a lot like that, that would take quite a lot of glass jars, wouldn't it? And, you know, if you found these, you found the washer. If you found this, you found the nut. If you're looking for the nut, you found the bolts. If you're looking for the nut and the bolt, you found the washers to go along with the nut and the bolt. And you've still got, you know, others on your shelves next to others. So, I think that's what we'll do with those. So you could choose, if you wanted to, you could, oh, hold on, that's the one we're using. You could give them all. You're topping up the now, aren't you? You're going to use that jar, and then what we could do is we could send a pack of washers to go with them, put that in the top, and you could send a pack of spring washers to go in there, so that when you're looking in there for them, you'll find the nuts, but you might think, oh, I've got some spring washers in there and I've got some flashed washers in there, which then uses that jar, and we can close that away, can't we? Because sometimes I do that. I rob the nuts, I go looking for them, find the bolts because I want the nuts, or I want the nuts because find the nuts because I want the bolts. It's now ready for the shelf. Let's go and get a big jar, see if we can get them all in. We use that, we're slightly small, but let's be a bit more efficient with space. Let's go and get a big jar, swap them over. It's worth keeping many and varied jars ready for action. Too small. Too small, that lot. Yeah, they're not the big ones, are they? We've got some big ones somewhere, haven't we? There we are. Wonder if we've got a matching red one. There we are. I knew we had one. Let's have one of these. Let's see how that marries. Oh, marries in. So, what we can do here is get the newly fetched big jar, give it a drink, nice and in there, chase any dampness. Let's get this one that we can tub into there. All right, let's put that in there. Oh yeah, we got plenty of space to put a few more in. Tap, tap, tap. You'll be surprised how much tapping and shaking makes a huge difference. So we can afford to put a few of them in now, can't we? Afford to put a few of them in. And we'll do the same. We'll put a tub of spring washers in, and we'll put one of washers to go with it in the top. Too full. Take one out. So whenever you're putting them away, give these washers a good drink. Whenever you're putting them away, you're being most efficient with your space. That's going on the shelf. It is full, isn't it? Being most efficient with space when you put them on the shelf. So this lot, this is going to be a mixed jar. Yeah, so let's put these bolts in with washers. Put them in first. Right, yeah. And sort of take up the space. We've got a couple of handfuls of nuts we can throw in there, haven't we? So the nuts will take up the space, and they're in there. Best use of the space. We'll throw them in there. We'll give them a drink. Give them a little drink. Then we'll get these ones, which were just the plain nuts. So we'll put them in there. Which is they're all the same size. If you're looking for one of them, you're looking for all of them. We'll give that a drink. Yeah. And we've got a few with washers on, haven't we? Split pins, washers and split pins. And we'll throw them in there. And I think we'll call that a day. That's plenty good for that job. And we can see inside that there's nuts and bolts and sets of nuts and bolts in that jar, all of the same. So if you found one, you found them all, haven't you? So what was 2 buckets that I kept tripping over soon boils down to a couple of jars for the shelves, 1 tub here, and a few bits and pieces that we can top up of other things with. And these washers I might just put separately in a handy jar so that you know where to find them, or even put them in that set of drawers up there. Yeah, lovely jubbly, nice little job done.